How was this possible? How long had this fellow risen to power? How could his strength reach such a level? Their strength was not inferior to the top 3 sacred generals of their dying ultimate holy empire. This basically meant that the other party's strength had already stood at the top of the entire ultimate void great cosmos. There were not many people in the ultimate void cosmos who could defeat them. This common people's regal was actually such a person? Admit defeat, Zhou 11 calmly said. If you don't admit defeat, I can also send you to hell so that you won't be trapped here at this realm forever. The heavenly might sacred general opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. He only lowered his head and said in a low voice, I admit defeat. A wise man wouldn't fight when the odds were against him. He naturally understood this logic. Common people's regal lives up to his reputation. He asked. At the side, the bandit mountain sword saint was completely stunned when he saw this. A powerful opponent who had fought with him for countless years was actually defeated directly in a single exchange against this common people's regal? Was it that exaggerated? The bandit mountain sword saint quickly came back to his senses and realized that this common people's regal strength had already stood at the peak of the ultimate void great cosmos. For a moment, he was also so shocked that he didn't know what to say. The exaggerated comparison between the strength of the common people's regal and the time of his rise really overturned his worldview. Was this guy born to be a powerhouse? Otherwise, how could he rise so quickly? How long had this fellow cultivated for? He had already surpassed veteran experts like them and become a pinnacle expert of the ultimate void great cosmos. At this moment, Zhou 11 said calmly to the heavenly might sacred general, give it to me. The heavenly might sacred general did not speak. He stretched out his right hand, and fist marks condensed in his palm. Finally, they formed a golden fist that floated above his palm. As soon as this golden fist appeared, the entire place where Tianjun's corpse was trembling, as if it was the will of General Tianjun when he was alive, and he couldn't bear to part with the inheritance of the heaven-breaking fist sect. The heavenly might sacred general gently threw the golden fist out of his hand and landed in front of Zhou 11. Zhou 11 looked at the golden fist in his hand and felt the eternal immortal realm aura emitted from it. A smile appeared on his face. There was no mistaking it. This was the eternal immortal realm inheritance. This inheritance was almost identical to the feeling he had when he inherited the supreme sacred body. However, he could sense that even though they were both eternal immortal realm legacies, the heaven-breaking fist sect's legacies were far inferior to his supreme sacred body. It seemed that the main body's supreme sacred body inheritance was an extremely rare and precious inheritance, even in the eternal immortal realm inheritance. Zhou 11 assessed in his heart. He was even happier. It seemed that even if he encountered an enemy with the inheritance of the eternal immortal realm in the future, he should be able to gain an advantage with the supreme sacred body. Currently, the prerequisite was that he had to raise the level of his supreme sacred body first. His current supreme sacred body was only at the low-level supreme will realm. It was still far from being able to fight an enemy with a will above the mid-levels. He needed to at least raise the supreme sacred body to the low-level willpower level. Only then could this eternal immortal realm inheritance help him look down on the powerhouses of the willpower level. Even though he did not need a supreme sacred body of that level now, it was rare for him to encounter an opponent among the strong willpower practitioners. However, who wouldn't like someone stronger? Not bad. Zhou 11 smiled faintly and said, thank you for your legacy. The heavenly might sacred general did not speak. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint's eyes flickered, as if he wanted to say something. Zhou 11 looked at Tianjun's corpse under his feet and suddenly asked, is the place where Tianjun's corpse is under my feet someone from your dying ultimate holy empire? He was the former sacred general Tianjun. Later, he defected to our dying ultimate holy empire and was killed by the third sacred general sent by our holy empire. But before this fellow died, he actually used a greater teleportation technique, preventing us from finding him through normal means and taking back the holy empire's inheritance from him. The sacred emperor is furious. He sent many sacred generals, divine generals, and 100,000 saint realm weapons. He wants us to search the entire ultimate void great cosmos to find this guy. In the end, while I found this fellow. His methods before he died kept me trapped here." The Heavenly Might's Sacred General glanced at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint as he spoke. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint turned around in disdain. The Heavenly Might's Sacred General looked at Zhou 11 and asked solemnly, "Common People's Regal, have you thought it through? Do you really want to take the inheritance of my holy empire? Once you take this inheritance, you'll really become enemies with our holy empire. At that time, even your teachers supreme won't be able to save you. Who are you trying to scare?" Zhou 11 said calmly, "I'm a top-notch sacred king personally chosen by the supreme will. Your dying ultimate holy empire's identity is already sensitive. Do you really dare to bear the pressure of being punished by the ultimate void great cosmos to deal with me? Aren't you afraid that the will of the ultimate void origin will kill your sacred king with a thought? Besides," Zhou 11 pointed at the golden fist in his hand, "I just looked at the general content of this heaven-breaking fist sect. His creator is the immortal Sky Fist. Before he ascended to the eternal immortal palace, he had never joined your dying ultimate holy empire. He even had some grudges with your dying ultimate holy empire. If not for the fact that the heavenly fist is undying and can't be bothered to argue with you little fellows before ascending, do you think your dying ultimate holy empire would have been able to survive until now? What right does your dying ultimate holy empire have to say that the inheritance of the heaven-breaking fist sect belongs to your dying ultimate holy empire? The inheritance of the immortal heavenly fist is obtained by experts. Back then, you all relied on your martial power to forcefully obtain this inheritance from that nameless supreme realm expert. Today, I used force to forcefully snatch this inheritance. It fits the proverb of our hometown, karmic retribution. The cycle is unhappy. You want the inheritance of the heaven-breaking fist sect? Sure, call your dying's ultimate sacred emperor over to personally get it from me." The Zhou 11 said. Heavenly Might's Sacred General was silent and could not refute. At the side, the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint clicked his tongue. How many years had it been? It had been a long time since he had seen an expert dare to clamor at the legendary Sacred Emperor dying. Even though he had a jumpy personality, he didn't dare to shout at Sacred Emperor dying. The person in front of him really had the confidence to call him that. He was not calling him that for no reason. The other party could instantly kill the Heavenly Might's Sacred General, even though his strength might not be comparable to Di Huang's. Would the Sacred Emperor dare to take the initiative to attack Zhou 11 despite being threatened by the will of the ultimate void origin? He didn't dare. Saint Emperor De Hung had the strength of a quasi-eternal realm expert and was indeed very strong. However, to the will of the ultimate void great cosmos, there was no difference between a quasi-eternal immortal realm and a black iron tier elementary, grade extraordinary tier life form. They were all ants that could be instantly killed. Without a true eternal realm expert, they would never be a threat to the will of the ultimate void great cosmos. Come on. Seeing that the Heavenly Might's Sacred General did not speak, Zhou 11 felt bored and prepared to leave. After obtaining the eternal immortal realm inheritance that he had been longing for, the goal that the main body had sent to them was basically completed. Next, this place where Tianjun's corpse was could only be used as a channel to obtain a chaos divine treasure. Unless necessary, Zhou Zhou and their avatars probably wouldn't come again. At most, they would send some supreme realm experts and willpower experts to regularly deal with and collect the chaos divine treasures here. At this moment, the Heavenly Might's Sacred General continued. The place where Tianjun's corpse is the wealth of the Holy Court. In the future, I will bring Tianjun's corpse back to the Holy Court. Zhou 11 suddenly turned his head and looked at the Heavenly Might's Sacred General with an extremely sharp gaze. Under his sharp and oppressive gaze, the Heavenly Might's Sacred General, who had lived for countless years, suddenly felt his heart palpitate. Heavenly Might's Sacred General, Zhou 11 said coldly, "This emperor advises you to be more careful with your words. Even though you're the 9th Sacred General of the ultimate holy empire of Daheng, it doesn't mean that this emperor doesn't dare to kill you. You've already been lost for an unknown period of time, but the Daheng ultimate holy empire hasn't found you. It's obvious that you can't be found by the Daheng ultimate holy empire if you're here. Then tell me, if this emperor destroys you here, will the Daheng ultimate holy empire be able to guess that you were killed by this emperor?" Heavenly Might's Sacred General's body trembled. He lowered his head and stopped talking. Zhou 11 sneered in his heart. This guy had really stayed in the Dahing Ultimate Holy Empire for too long. He didn't even know what his current situation was. He didn't know how to lay low and lower his head when his situation was clearly extremely bad. He actually dared to shout at him. They were all spoilt. In the past, Zhou 11 would have already killed this guy. However, he didn't make a move in the end. This fellow was an important general of the Dahing Ultimate Holy Empire after all. If he killed him and left any traces on his body, it was very likely that he would be discovered by that Saint Emperor of the Dahing Ultimate Holy Empire in the future. At that time, he would be in trouble. Legend had it that Sacred Emperor Dahing had the strength of a quasi-eternal immortal realm expert. He was only one step away from breaking through the bottleneck and knocking on the door of the Immortal Palace to officially become a member of the Eternal Immortal Realm. Even though he was already very powerful, he still did not have the confidence to fight that guy and win. Let's wait for now. His will would transcend the level when his main body's true realm advanced to the low level. He might be able to challenge the Saint Emperor Dahing at that time. Then, he planned to leave with his subordinates. At this moment, the bandit mountain sword saint, who was not far away from the heavenly might's sacred general, hurriedly said, "Hold on, your highness. What's the matter?" Zhou 11 stopped and turned to ask the bandit mountain sword saint. He had a good impression of this bandit mountain sword saint. The enemy of an enemy was a friend after all. Furthermore, the other party's attitude of speaking up for him made Zhou 11 quite fond of this fellow. "Are you really going out?" The bandit mountain sword saint asked. "It's very difficult to get out. This fellow and I have been trying here, but we haven't been able to get out. We'll know once we give it a try." Zhou 11 smiled faintly. Then, he came to the edge of the core area and extended his hand. An invisible ripple appeared in the void of space. The ripples even had a recoil force. Even with the terrifying power of Zhou 11's low-level supreme sacred body, he was almost shaken out of his hands by the recoil force. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint watched this scene worriedly. Heavenly Might's sacred general sneered in his heart. He and Bandit Mountain Sword Saint had used an unknown amount of time, but were still unable to break through this barrier. He did not believe that this fellow could break through it. So what if he was stronger than him? Why would he have to be trapped here obediently? Why don't you just self-destruct your clone so that you won't be trapped here and tortured? The Heavenly Might's sacred general's foul mouth rose again, and he subconsciously wanted to open his mouth to mock. However, he quickly thought of what Zhou 11 had said to him. He immediately shut his mouth and did not dare to say anything else. He was really afraid of this top-notch sacred king. His brain suddenly twitched, and he really killed him. The other party really had the ability to do such a thing. While the other party might also know the risk of killing him and would not kill him, he could not risk his life for such a thing. Zhou 11 naturally did not care what Bandit Mountain Sword Saint and Heavenly Might's sacred general were thinking. He looked at the invisible barrier in front of him and clicked his tongue in wonder. What a powerful barrier technique. No wonder these two guys stayed here for so long and could not go out. Even though this barrier technique could not be considered an eternal immortal realm technique, it was definitely a top-notch transcendence technique. Good, then I'll try you out. Zhou 11's interest was piqued, and he quietly mobilized all his power. Then, he poured his power into the Tianxia sacred sword in his hand and slowly stabbed at the barrier. Puff! After the barrier produced a certain sense of obstruction, it directly pierced through. Zhou 11's expression did not change. With a forceful swipe, a scar appeared on the invisible screen in front of him. He turned to look at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint and Heavenly Might's sacred general, who were dumbfounded in the distance. It doesn't seem that difficult. With that, they had to cross the rift and return to the present world. Your Majesty, the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint shouted, attracting the attention of Zhou 11 and the rest. What is it? Zhou 11 said plainly, but did not stop walking. Your Majesty, take me with you. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint shouted. Follow me, Zhou 11 said. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint was delighted and hurriedly said, Thank you, Your Majesty. Then, he quickly followed Zhou 11 and them through the crack and walked out of the core area. You came out just like that? The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint turned around and looked at the crack that had already recovered. He muttered to himself with a look of disbelief. He could see it. In the core area, the Heavenly Might's sacred general looked like he wanted to follow him out, but he could not. He looked very eager and aggrieved. That's right. The only chance to come out had been blocked by him, with his cheap mouth. It would be strange if this fellow was happy. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint could not help but laugh. What are your plans for the future? At this moment, Zhou 11 looked at him and asked, I plan to follow His Majesty and seek His Majesty's approval. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint knelt down without hesitation and said respectfully and sincerely, Why do you want to follow me? Zhou 11 looked at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint and said with a faint smile, Your strength is considered one of the top few even in the entire ultimate void, great cosmos. You could have enjoyed the glory and treatment of a top-notch expert who belongs to you. Why do you have to follow this emperor and submit to others? Your Majesty, are you serious? The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint smiled and shook his head. But Your Majesty, I'm already tired of the life you're talking about. I want to experience something different, such as follow Your Majesty and create a different era that belongs to you. Your Majesty. Zhou 11 raised his eyebrows and smiled. This emperor likes your answer. From today onwards, you will be a transcendent level offering of this emperor's blazing sun divine kingdom. You will conquer the ultimate void great cosmos with this emperor. I'm honored. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint immediately said respectfully. Then, he added, Your Majesty, there's another faction under my command that has transcended will. It's called the Bandit Mountain Holy Land. There are many resources in the Holy Land, and many powerful disciples follow me. Among them, there are as many as 5 will transcending level experts. There are also about 30 supreme will realm experts. There are tens of millions of god spirits below the supreme god realm. I'm willing to take the resources of all the disciples of the Bandit Mountain Holy Land and join His Majesty. Okay, Zhou 11 looked at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint with admiration. Since that's the case, this emperor will not mistreat you. He stretched out his right hand, and a golden fist appeared in front of Bandit Mountain Sword Saint. It was the inheritance of the heaven-breaking fist sect that he had just obtained from the heavenly might sacred general. This is for you. This emperor has already memorized the contents of the inheritance on it. Take it back and comprehend it well. Your Majesty, is Your Majesty serious? The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint asked incoherently. He looked at the golden fist in front of him, his eyes burning with excitement. This was a transcendent level inheritance. This inheritance was very precious even for a top-notch willpower expert like him. Yet His Majesty actually handed this immortal inheritance to him because of a Bandit Mountain Holy Land? His Majesty was too generous. His Bandit Mountain Holy Land was nothing compared to this immortal inheritance. With His Majesty's strength, he could probably insta-kill his Bandit Mountain Holy Land with a finger. How can this emperor's words be fake? Zhou 11 looked at him with a smile. Thank you for the reward, Your Majesty. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint said respectfully. Then, he received the golden fist excitedly and absorbed it into his body, waiting to slowly digest the heaven-breaking fist sect's inheritance in the future. Zhou 11 looked at this scene with a faint smile. However, because the other party's strength was too high, he could no longer show the other party's loyalty. However, Zhou 11 could sense that the other party's loyalty to him had greatly increased because of this reward. The way to increase loyalty in this world was so simple and unadorned. He could either accumulate feelings to increase his loyalty, give more benefits to increase his loyalty, or do both to increase his loyalty. Zhou 11 did not have that much time to cultivate a relationship with his subordinates, so he could only take the path of reward. Thankfully, he was extremely talented on this path. It was very easy for him to do such a thing. Ordinary lords really couldn't learn it. Come on, Zhou 11 said. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint nodded and left Tianjun's corpse with Zhou 11 and them. However, they did not return to the supreme great cosmos after that. Instead, they flew in the direction of the ultimate void great cosmos. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint endured for a while and finally could not help but ask, Your Majesty, where are we going? To the yellow sky great cosmos. Zhou 11 did not hide anything and said directly, The yellow sky great cosmos? The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint was taken aback when he heard that. Then, he said, I know this place. I've been there before. I'm even good friends with Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun. Oh, Zhou 11 looked at him in surprise. Then what do you think of the abilities of Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun and the other 2 universe masters? Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun's strength is about the same as mine. Among the other two universe masters, Ziwei Master and Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. Ziwei Master is slightly stronger than Heavenly the Archvast Sun, but there's not much of a difference. However, the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor is a freak. The Sky Demon Dao Ancestor's strength is comparable to the third Saint General statue of the ultimate Holy Empire of Dying. Master Ziwei and Heavenly the Archvast Sun need to join forces to deal with Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. Zhou 11 nodded thoughtfully and asked, "Then tell me, if this emperor were to attack the entire Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos now, what are the chances of winning? Your Majesty, how is your current strength?" Bandit Mountain Sword Saint asked cautiously. "I'm not too sure." Zhou 11 shook his head. "Up until now, this emperor has yet to meet an opponent that this emperor can use all his strength to deal with. This emperor also doesn't know the limits of his strength. However, this emperor guessed that it shouldn't be weaker than the third sacred general you mentioned. In that case, I would like to advise your Majesty to temporarily give up on the idea of attacking the entire Yellow Sky Great Cosmos." The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint said seriously. "Actually, the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor's strength is equivalent to the strength of the third Saint General of the Daheng Ultimate Holy Empire. However, that's not the point. Your Majesty, do you know who originally created the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos? It was the Heavenly Axiom Lord," Zhou 11 said. He knew this bit of information. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint nodded and said in a low voice, "Your Majesty, there are rumors in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos that Heavenly Axiom Lord failed to break through to the eternal immortal realm and died. However, it's not. Back then, I was sworn brothers with Heavenly the Archvast Sun. The Heavenly the Archvast Sun once told me a secret when he was drunk. Actually, back then, even though the Heavenly Axiom Lord failed to advance, he activated an eternal immortal realm mystic technique and split himself into three. Each of them retained a portion of their original will to this day. These three remnant wills are the current Heavenly the Archvast Sun, Master Ziwei, and Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. The three of them usually have ordinary relationships and even fight occasionally. However, in times of crisis, they will temporarily abandon their past enmity and join forces to resist the enemy. If the three of them can't resist the enemy, even if they join forces, they might give up on themselves and fuse with each other to reappear as Heavenly Axiom Lord. Even though that Heavenly Axiom Lord hasn't reached the quasi-eternal immortal realm, it's said that he is already infinitely close to this level. Later on, it was said that he obtained some treasure that allowed him to dare to directly break through to the eternal immortal realm before advancing to the quasi-eternal immortal realm. Back then, he even fought with Sacred Emperor Dying, even though he was defeated after only a few dozen moves. However, in the Ultimate Void Great Cosmos, there are probably less than 10 people who can exchange dozens of blows with the Saint Emperor of Dying. Even the legendary #1 Sacred General wouldn't be able to withstand a single move from that Saint Emperor Dying. Do you know the strength of Heavenly Axiom Lord? Your Majesty, you have to think twice. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint said earnestly. He was really afraid that His Majesty would take the initiative to run over and die. That Heavenly Axiom Lord's strength was not just for show. He was really ruthless. His Majesty already had such shocking strength at such a young age. As long as His Majesty was given some more time, it was very likely that he would surpass Heavenly Axiom Lord or even arm wrestle Sacred Emperor Dying. Why did he have to be enemies with such an expert at this time? There was no need for that. This Emperor understands. Zhou 11 nodded as he pondered. After what Bandit Mountain Sword Saint said, he already had a clearer understanding of the strength of the controller of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. It also made him understand that at this stage, he was not afraid of any of the three rulers of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. However, if they and the other two joined forces, his side might be in danger. However, he had no intention of annexing the entire Yellow Sky Great Cosmos in one go. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to only bring these few experts. Instead, he would have brought all the main combat troops of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom and rushed to the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos. The reason why he asked Bandit Mountain Sword Saint this question was to understand the situation in the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. He looked at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint's anxious expression and could not help but laugh. Don't worry. This emperor won't be in such a hurry to conquer the entire Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos. However, this emperor has another clone in the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos. It's the lord of a Master God-tier kingdom there. This emperor plans to use that Master God-tier kingdom as a base to gather resources to upgrade his territory. He plans to upgrade this emperor's Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom in the Supreme Great Cosmos to a transcendent level faction as soon as possible. This emperor's current Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's level and territory level are too low. Zhou 11 shook his head. I see. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint came to a realization. Then, he thought for a moment and said, Bandit Mountain Sword Saint came to a realization. Then, he thought for a moment and said, Your Majesty is rich and overbearing. Actually, you can totally buy it. I happen to know Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun. I can help pull strings and facilitate the transaction between His Majesty and Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun to satisfy His Majesty's need for upgrade resources. Zhou 11 was stunned. Then, he carefully savored it. The more he thought about it, the brighter his eyes became. This method seemed feasible. As Zhou 11 pondered, he continued to ask Bandit Mountain Sword Saint. That mysterious Emperor Hao Tian is one of the 3 leaders of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. Wouldn't it offend him if we discuss with him about selling the resources in the Great Cosmos? Your Majesty, you don't know, the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint said. Even though the Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun, Lord Ziwei, and Sky Demon Dao Ancestor were all formed from the remnant willpower of the Heavenly Axiom Lord, they already had their own willpower and were not affected by the remnant willpower of the Heavenly Axiom Lord at all. However, they also knew at the same time that if they were left unattended for a long time, once the remnant origin intent in their body are completely restored, allowing Heavenly Axiom Lord to wait for the opportunity to revive, they will immediately lose them and become nourishment for Heavenly Axiom Lord's revival. Therefore, none of the 3 of them wanted the remnant willpower of the Heavenly Axiom Lord in their bodies to recover completely. For this reason, they had done self-harm in the past in order to slow down the recovery of the Heavenly Axiom Lord's remnant willpower. However, they later discovered that other than damaging their own will of the origin, they could not harm the remnant will of the origin that Heavenly Axiom Lord had left on them. Only then did they give up unwillingly. Zhou 11 frowned slightly and interrupted. Do you think this has anything to do with my deal with the Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun? Your Majesty, listen to me slowly. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint smiled unhurriedly and said, Even though their self-harm cannot stop the resurrection of the Heavenly Axiom Lord, there's still a grand method that can allow them to resolve the remnant of the Heavenly Axiom Lord's original will in their bodies. This method is to make their own will stronger than the remnant of the original will in their bodies. As long as they can do this, they will be able to suppress the Heavenly Axiom Lord's original will indefinitely. In fact, if they could reach the level of the Heavenly Axiom Lord in the future, they could even turn the tables and absorb the remnant of the Heavenly Axiom Lord's original will, becoming a supplement for them to reach a higher level. And in order to achieve this goal, they and the other 2 can be said to be willing to do anything. They are willing to do anything as long as they can become stronger. Don't talk about buying and selling family resources. They would dare to do even more heaven-defying things. The reason why the current Sky Demon Dao Ancestor wants to deal with Master Ziwei and Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun is because he wants to absorb these 2 brothers and sisters who share the same origin as him and greatly increase his strength. That's why he started the war between the leaders of the Great Cosmos. Even the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor dares to do such a thing, let alone anything else. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint chuckled. Zhou 11, on the other hand, had a strange expression. The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun is actually willing to tell you such a secret? He could not help but ask, Why don't you say that I have a good relationship with that fellow, Vast Sun? Bandit Mountain Sword Saint patted his chest. The 2 of us have told each other all our secrets. Zhou 11 did not say anything and silently gave him a thumbs up. In the current environment, for Bandit Mountain Sword Saint to have such a friend whom he could talk to about everything, it had to be said that he was very enviable. Zhou 11 quickly made a decision. Sure, after we reach the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos, immediately contact Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun and let this Emperor meet him After that, this emperor will convince persuasion to let him trade resources with this emperor in this aspect. Zhou 11 said, I can also help from the side. The bandit mountain sword saint hurriedly said. Zhou 11 looked at him and nodded with a smile. Zhou 11 naturally liked subordinates who knew how to actively contribute. A moment later, Zhou 11 and the other experts finally arrived at the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. As soon as they arrived at the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos, Zhou 11 immediately sensed Zhou 15's location. He nodded inwardly. Now, Zhou 15's Holy Sun Divine Kingdom had already developed to the level of an intermediate grade Master God tier kingdom. However, his actual national combat strength could easily crush even a supreme country built by a supreme Will Realm expert. If not for the fact that he was afraid of exposing his abnormality, Zhou 15 would even dare to lead his generals and soldiers to attack a transcendent-level country. He did not think too much about it and looked at Bandit Mountain Sword Saint. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint understood what Zhou 15 meant and immediately nodded. Then, he walked to the front and shouted at the yellow heaven great cosmos that was enveloped by the chaos barrier. Brother Vast Sun, are you here? I'm here to see you. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint used his willpower to speak. Hence, even from afar, all living beings in the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos could hear Bandit Mountain Sword Saint's willpower. However, Bandit Mountain Sword Saint had used a special mystic technique when transmitting his will. As such, only Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun could hear his voice. Zhou 11 and they did not wait long. Zhou 11 and Zhou 12 looked at a certain place in the chaotic barrier of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos and thought to themselves, it's here. In the next second, a young man's willful voice sounded from within the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. Brother Bandit Mountain, long time no see. I thought you were missing. But what do you mean by bringing so many unfamiliar experts here? Zhou 11 smiled faintly. There was no mistake. According to Zhou 15's memories, this voice belonged to Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun. It seemed that even though this fellow had a good relationship with Bandit Mountain Sword Saint, it was not to the extent that he could immediately personally welcome anyone he casually brought over. However, it was normal for him to be a little wary. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint knew that the Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun had misunderstood when he heard this slightly guarded tone. He hurriedly said, Brother Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun, don't misunderstand. I brought them here to help you. Help me. The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun's tone did not change. Help with what? Before I help you, let me introduce you. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint introduced respectfully. The person behind me is the leader of the faction I just joined. In the ultimate void great cosmos, the sacred king who is most recognized by the will of the ultimate void great cosmos, the God Lord of the blazing sun divine kingdom, His Highness, the common people's regal. After saying that, after a while, a figure slowly walked out of Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. He wore a black robe. Dark golden patterns covered his entire body. A pair of scarlet sun wheels were embedded in his shoulder armor, emitting a faint burning light. A scarlet bell hung from his dark golden waist. He had blonde hair and golden lotuses bloomed with every step he took. He was surrounded by stars and looked mysterious and powerful. It was one of the three leaders of the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos, Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun. Brother Bandit Mountain, you actually joined a faction in the Great Cosmos? Haven't you always wanted to travel the entire ultimate void Great Cosmos and see the scenery of many great cosmoses? Why did you suddenly give up the freedom you wanted? The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun exclaimed. The reason why he liked to call Bandit Mountain Sword Saint brother was because Bandit Mountain Sword Saint had been to many places and learned many interesting stories unique to the Great Cosmos. Every time he met and chatted with the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint, he would always hear many interesting life forms and stories from him. This was too attractive for him, who had been staying in the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos all year round, and was unable to leave to travel the outside world. Even he knew that the authenticity of the story told by the other party was debatable. Furthermore, most of it was bragging. However, it had to be said that sometimes being good at telling stories and bragging was a very powerful ability. As time passed, one of them was willing to brag, and the other was willing to listen. They had actually become rare good friends among the transcendent experts. He originally thought that the other party would continue to travel the ultimate void great cosmos until he died on the road one day, or he would return to his Bandit Mountain Holy Land after getting tired of traveling and continue to be his master of the free and unfettered Holy Land. They did not expect that this time, the other party actually gave up on being carefree and joined a lord's faction to become his subject. The heavenly, the archvast sun was in disbelief. He looked at Zhou 11 and was curious about how charming this guy was to make a carefree prodigal give up his freedom and be willing to work for him. He knew this human expert, the common people's regal. He was currently the most famous newly advanced sacred king in the ultimate void great cosmos. It was said that this guy had the greatest potential in the ultimate void great cosmos. In the future, it was very likely that he would compete with the top few sacred kings for the position of Di Huang in the ultimate void great cosmos. Heavenly, the arch-vast sun, who had never left the yellow heaven great cosmos, did not think that this was anything special. He was a sacred king after all. He was merely the successor of the ultimate void great cosmos. Moreover, it was not just one, but many. The predecessors were peerless experts who had tried to advance to the eternal realm. What was a sacred king who did not even have a will in front of their predecessor? He originally didn't plan on paying attention to such interesting news. He didn't expect the protagonist of the interesting news to walk in front of him today and even bring him such shocking news. This made him very interested in Zhou 11. At the same time, the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint immediately smiled and said, "That's right. His Highness, the common people's regal, is a very worthy king to follow. Furthermore, I'm tired of traveling in the ultimate void great cosmos. I want to try a different life, such as serve a sacred king and create a new era with him. That's why I'm following the sacred king." The heavenly, the arch-vast sun did not speak. However, he was very envious of Bandit Mountain Sword Saint. It was really cool to have freedom and what you wanted to do. In his eyes, the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint was extremely carefree, exuding an indescribable charm. Also, let me remind you, brother, I only came up with the idea to follow His Majesty after being convinced by His Majesty's strength. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint looked at Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun with a solemn expression. You must not look down on him just because of His own Majesty's superficial strength. Otherwise, even I would find it difficult to save you. The Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun was shocked and looked at Zhou 11 again. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint he knew was an existence that could be on par with the sacred general of the Dahing Ultimate Holy Empire in a battle. This powerful guy was actually subdued by the other party because of his strength. Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun thought for a moment and said in a friendly tone, "Our brother Bandit Mountain, Your Highness the common people's regal, and all the experts, willing to come to my multiverse dojo for a gathering? When the time comes, we can discuss the matter of helping in detail." "Sure," the Zhou 11 said. This was the first time he had spoken after seeing the Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun. The Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun smiled and led the way. The experts followed behind him as they traveled through space-time and arrived at another timeline in the yellow heaven great cosmos. Zhou 11 made a prediction in his heart and could not help but smile faintly. "This timeline is interesting," he said to Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun. "Haha, it's quite interesting," the Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun said with a smile. He sighed with emotion. "The me of this timeline is just an ordinary life form struggling on the path to becoming a god. He doesn't work hard, nor does he have talent. He doesn't have the help of experts, nor does he have any relatives to look after him. But he is free. He can do whatever he wants. His body is clean. It belongs to him. He has a life he wants and a fate that no one can interfere with." The Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun muttered to himself, "Even you don't interfere? You are his alternate timeline main body." Zhou 11 suddenly asked, "I won't interfere either." The Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun shook his head. Zhou 11 smiled. "If I were him, I would probably hate you very much. You can clearly make him break through the bottleneck of the god spirit and become a supreme god with a raise of your fair hand. Why do you have to let him struggle bitterly in the sea of mediocrity? The most infuriating thing is that you actually think that he will think that such a life will be good. Have you asked for his opinion? Perhaps he can't wait for a supreme expert to suddenly descend in front of him and say to him, 'You can be my successor. I'll help you advance to the supreme will realm. I might even help you achieve the legendary willpower.' Do you think he will accept it?" The Heavenly, the Arch-Vast Sun was speechless. Is there a need to ask? Anyone in their right mind would accept it. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint nodded in agreement. "If it were me, I would even be my biological father, let alone my master. Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun thought for a moment and said with a smile, "All right, since the two of you have said so, I will naturally give him some suitable opportunities later." He stopped talking about this matter and turned to look at Zhou 11. He asked seriously, "Lord Common People's Regal, may I know what help you are talking about?" "It's not all help." Zhou 11 smiled faintly and said, "This emperor wants to make a deal with you." "A deal?" The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun frowned slightly. "What deal?" "This emperor's territory is currently only at the grade 2 Supreme God level, and the country level is only at the grade 1 Supreme God level. And this emperor's strength has already reached the level of will transcendence. Therefore, the level of this emperor's territory and country is far from being able to satisfy this emperor's needs. This emperor wants to quickly increase the level of the real territory. Therefore, the resources this emperor wants to trade are the resources to upgrade his territory and establish a high-level country." Zhou 11 said, "In the ultimate void great cosmos, these resources are indeed the most abundant in our yellow heaven great cosmos. I can even help you meet all external needs. But what can you give me?" The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun asked. "Well, holy artifacts, supreme holy crystals, various precious treasures, and top-notch inheritances. If these aren't enough, this emperor still has some transcendent holy artifacts, transcendent holy crystals, and transcendent inheritances." "Are these enough?" Zhou 11 asked. "Enough." The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun thought for a moment before agreeing readily. This speed surprised Zhou 11. The Bandit Mountain Sword Saint and him looked at each other and understood the meaning in each other's eyes. It seemed like this Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun was indeed desperate to increase his strength. The contents of the deal that Zhou 11 and Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun had discussed were nothing more than origin crystals, chaos divine treasures, ultimate void crystals, and other resources. What Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun needed were holy artifacts, treasures, and inheritances, as the latter was more precious than the former. Zhou 11 only used a small number of supreme, will-realm holy artifacts, treasures, and inheritances to exchange for a large number of resources for territory advancement and divine kingdom advancement. Zhou 11 was very satisfied with this. With these resources, it would be very simple to upgrade his territory or establish a country in the Supreme Great Cosmos and the Crimson Great Cosmos. With the help of this batch of resources, he was confident that he could quickly raise the level of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's land and Divine Kingdom in a short period of time. However, Zhou 11 was not satisfied with that. He wanted more. "Your Majesty Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun." Zhou 11 smiled and said, "Apart from the above, this emperor also wants to trade some other content." "What else do you want to trade?" "Common People's Sacred King, you can just say it." Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun said happily. He had just received the trading resources from Zhou 11 and was in a good mood. With this batch of holy artifacts, treasures, and legacies, he could quickly nurture more Supreme Will Realm experts under him. The existing Supreme Will Realm experts could also greatly increase their strength by 1 or 2 small levels. This was a considerable increase in his power. He was naturally very excited. At this moment, he acknowledged Bandit Mountain Sword Saint even more, as expected of his good friend. This time, he had really brought him a generous financier. He was right about helping. He had only taken some low-level resources that were useless to him, but they had actually brought him so many benefits. With these resources, even if he didn't say that he had already surpassed his competitor, the Sky Demon Dao ancestor, in terms of strength, he had already slightly surpassed his ally, the Lord of Ziwei. He didn't even know how to thank his good brother. However, he was clearly not satisfied with that. He also wanted more. Not only did he want to increase his power and subordinates, he also wanted to increase his strength the most. Only by truly improving his strength could he truly escape the threat of Heavenly Axiom Lord's incomplete willpower in the future. He no longer had to be on tenterhooks all day, much less stay in this boring yellow heaven great cosmos every day. He could be like Bandit Mountain Sword Saint, leaving this place and embracing the vast ultimate void great cosmos, embracing the freedom he had always wanted. That was what he really wanted. Therefore, when he heard Zhou 11's words, he immediately perked up, wanting to know what Zhou 11 wanted. He was not afraid that Zhou 11 would ask for more, but he was afraid that Zhou 11 would say no. That was his current state of mind. Zhou 11 noticed the change in Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun's attitude towards him. It was the attitude of Party B towards Party A. Who wouldn't like such an attitude? He smiled in his heart and said with a faint smile, "This emperor has actually heard of the yellow sky great cosmos a long time ago. It has walked very far on the Tao of Lords. It is the most powerful great cosmos in the ultimate void great cosmos other than the Dahing ultimate great cosmos. Therefore, in order to learn from your great cosmos, this emperor sent a faction to your yellow heaven great cosmos a long time ago and established a lord country to learn the advanced lord concepts of your yellow heaven great cosmos. Now, this lord's kingdom has already been promoted to an intermediate grade master god tier kingdom. This is what this emperor wants to trade." Zhou 11 said in a deep voice. This emperor needs His Majesty Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun to assist the Shungri divine kingdoms under this emperor to conquer other divine kingdoms in the yellow sky great cosmos, and help this emperor complete the quantity of divine kingdoms needed to upgrade his territory. Bandit Mountain Sword Saint clicked his tongue. His Majesty was really straightforward. Wasn't he afraid of offending this Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun? If it were him, he would probably be much more tactful. However, Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun was not an ordinary expert. Upon hearing this, his expression did not change. After some thought, he agreed. "I can agree to this, but my method may also require your help." "Please do," Zhou 11 said. "The way I help you conceal your offensive steps is to join forces with Master Ziwei to attack the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. But I can't persuade Master Ziwei to do this with me without a suitable reason. Therefore, I need you to mobilize some experts to temporarily join me and prove my strength to Master Ziwei so that she will be willing to agree to my plan. This way, as long as the war between Master Ziwei and me and the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor begins, whether it's me, the Master of Ziwei, or the Heavenly Demon Daoist Master, none of us can take care of the situation in our territories. This way, no matter what your Majesty does, you can do it boldly without worrying about being discovered by Master Ziwei and the Heavenly Demon Dao Master." The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun asked. Zhou 11 thought for a while and agreed readily. Then, he asked, "How many troops do you need?" "I need you to send 20 Supreme Will Realm experts and a Will Transcendence expert to temporarily join me. As long as I have these strong reinforcements, I will definitely be able to persuade the Master of Ziwei to attack the Heavenly Devil Dao Master with me. The reason why we need so many strong reinforcements is mainly because the Heavenly Devil Dao Master is very powerful. It's not something that ordinary strong reinforcements can deal with. Please understand, common people's sacred king." Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun said in a deep voice. He stared at Zhou 11's expression as he spoke. He had made such a huge offer to test the strength of this common people's sacred king. He and this common people's sacred king were now considered half allies and traitors after all. The stronger such a partner was, the more he would feel at ease. He was also more willing to cooperate with them. As for the hidden dangers of the collaboration, Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun expressed that the hidden dangers were greater than the remnant will of the Heavenly Axiom Lord in his body. As long as the hidden dangers on the common people's sacred king did not exceed the hidden dangers that the Heavenly Axiom Lord posed to he would be willing to cooperate with him. He really wanted to get rid of the remnant of Heavenly Axiom Lord's original will in his body. For this matter, he was willing to do anything and take any risk. "No problem," Zhou 11 agreed after some thought. The method that Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun was talking about was indeed the easiest and fastest method to allow Zhou 15's Holy Sun Divine Kingdom to quickly conquer the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos. Even though 50 Supreme Will Realm experts and a Will Transcendence expert were a huge sacrifice even for him. However, as long as he could quickly increase the level of his territory and country, everything would be worth it. Moreover, the internal war between the three leaders of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos consumed their own strength and forces. This was definitely a good thing for Zhou 11, who wanted to fish in troubled waters and might even plot something bigger. Once Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun became unreliable and suddenly desired to betray him and join forces with them to deal with an outsider like him, the pressure on him would be reduced because of the civil war between them. Then what does His Majesty Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun want? A superior holy artifact. Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun thought for a moment and said in anticipation, even if he was one of the three leaders of the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos, he only had three weapons that transcended the level of them, like holy artifacts. Moreover, there were two low-level transcendent holy artifacts and one middle-level transcendent holy artifact. There was not even a high-level transcendent holy artifact. This situation was very normal in the ultimate void great cosmos. Generally speaking, most of the strong martial artists would only have one holy artifact. Logically speaking, an upper-level powerhouse like he should have 3 to 5 transcendent holy artifacts, and at least one of them was compatible with his strength. However, he did not have so many transcendent holy artifacts. He only had 3 low-level transcendent holy artifacts. The reason was that ever since the Heavenly Axiom Lord derived the 3 of them, they could not leave the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos and head to the ultimate void Great Cosmos. They could only dominate the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. Although it was safe in the multiverse, it also meant that they could not go out to obtain resources to increase their strength, which included transcending holy artifacts. They could only split the transcendent holy artifacts left behind by the Heavenly Axiom Lord. As a result, he and Lord Ziwei only had 3 transcendent holy artifacts. As the Sky Demon Dao Master was the strongest, he had obtained most of the treasures left behind by Heavenly Axiom Lord and a full set of transcendent holy artifacts. This also widened the gap in strength that they already had. For so many years, they had been oppressed by the Heavenly Devil Taoist Master. This also made him yearn for more holy artifacts to equalize the difference in strength between them and the Heavenly Devil Taoist Master. In the future, there would even be a day when the Heavenly Axiom Lord, who had transcended the creator of them, would have true freedom of his own. No problem. What do you want? Zhou 11 did not hesitate and agreed. He even specially asked what type of holy artifact the other party needed. Weapons. Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun said without hesitation. Zhou 11 nodded and searched his #1 treasure vault. Finally, he took out an ancient millstone that emitted the light of yin and yang and was surrounded by chaotic airflow. This is a superior holy artifact, yin-yang boundless apocalyptic millstone. Your path is the path of yin-yang rotation. This holy artifact should be quite suitable for you. Zhou 11 said, you actually saw through my will path at a glance. The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun exclaimed. It's simple, Zhou 11 said nonchalantly. His main body even had an eternal immortal realm inheritance, and he had seen more than 10 will transcendence level inheritances. Seeing through Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun's will path was naturally very simple for him. Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun nodded. His evaluation of this common people's sacred king rose to another level. Then, his gaze landed on the yin-yang boundless world-destroying wounds, and his eyes gradually revealed unconcealable excitement. He could sense that the yin-yang boundless world-destroying millstone was very compatible with him. Even though it was not very compatible, it was at least 80%. In the entire ultimate void cosmos, this was already an extremely rare holy artifact. I really like this transcendent holy artifact, Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun said, without hiding anything. Zhou 11 smiled. Then, he handed the yin-yang limitless world-destroying millstone to the other party. After Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun received the yin-yang boundless apocalypse millstone, he played with it for a while before putting it away solemnly. Then, he said to Zhou 11, from now on, your Master God-tier kingdom can expand unlimitedly. As for my side, as long as your strong reinforcements are in place, I can immediately join forces with Master Ziwei and start a war with the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. Tomorrow, then, this emperor will send his generals to the Yellow Heaven Great Cosmos tomorrow to listen to your orders. But you can't assign the most dangerous mission to them. They are this emperor's precious subordinates. Zhou 11 said, haha, I know what I'm doing. Since you're coming tomorrow, I'll go find Master Ziwei now. Tomorrow, we'll start a war with the Sky Demon Dao Ancestor. The Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun asked. Zhou 11 nodded. After that, the two of them chatted about the details of their collaboration before parting ways. Zhou 11 did not leave the Yellow Sky Great Cosmos. Instead, he brought Bandit Mountain Sword Saint and his subordinates to Zhou 15's Holy Sun Divine Kingdom. Then, he let his subordinates enter his Holy Sun Divine Kingdom. If nothing went wrong, there would be many wars in the next Holy Sun Divine Kingdom. Therefore, he was prepared to leave the Supreme Gods, Supreme Will Realm experts under him, as well as the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint, who was an upper-level willpower expert, here to guard the Holy Sun Divine Kingdom in case of any accidents. If there was a problem that even the Bandit Mountain Sword Saint could not solve, he could just inform them directly. Now, the Holy Sun Divine Kingdom had already established an inter-universe teleportation array. As long as the multiverse teleportation array was activated, the clones of them could immediately teleport over as long as they were free. His main body could even come over to resolve the danger that might appear in the Holy Sun Divine Kingdom. If even the main body could not resolve it, the main body would not mind asking the Supreme Will for help. He believed that the Supreme Will would help this good disciple of his main body. As for Zhou 11 and the other Beyonder experts, they were divided into two parts. A portion of them went with Zhou Yu's new clone to conquer the other great cosmoses in the ultimate void great cosmos, to increase the upper limit of the number of experts that the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom could produce. The other portion would stay in the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom for the time being and listen to the main body's orders. For example, going to the Dusk battlefield to support the army of the Supreme Great Cosmos and resist the invasion of the illusionary race. Today was different from before. Zhou Zhou already had the ability to interfere in the war between the Supreme Great Cosmos and the illusionary race. It was time to show the illusionist clan how powerful he, the third reserve member of the Supreme Lord, was. I wonder how Zhou Fight is doing. Zhou 11 thought. With a thought, he turned to look at Zhou Fight, the eternal continent, on the long river of time and space. Zhou Fight sat cross-legged on the river of time and space and closed his eyes to observe the situation on Zhou 11's side. Even Zhou Fight was a little surprised by what Zhou 11 and Zhou 12, they had experienced at Tianjuan's corpse. Daheng Ultimate Holy Empire, Heavenly Might's Sacred General, Bandit Mountain Sword Saint, Heaven-Breaking Fist Sect Legacy, Heavenly the Arch-Vast Sun, Heavenly Axiom Lord. Zhou 11 has had a wonderful day. As soon as he is done, he is watching my situation without stopping. Sure, it's time for my performance. We can't let this guy take all the glory. Zhou Fight smiled faintly and slowly opened his eyes. He first glanced at the Eternal Continent. At this moment, the Eternal Continent had already been subdued by all the soldiers under him. He took another look at the river of time and space. He discovered that most of the historical heroes in the long river of time and space had been conquered by the Supreme Gods, Supreme Will Realm experts, and Transcendent level experts under him. He looked into the distance. The Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord, who had been focused on fishing beside the myriad world's chaos pool, was actually looking at him with confusion. Zhou Zhou smiled gently. He thought to himself, Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord, don't be anxious. Once we've dealt with the historical heroes in the long river of time and space, it'll be time for us to fight. In fact, even if he directly challenged the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord, he probably wouldn't mind. This was because anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Zhou Fight and his subordinates had no difficulty conquering the historical heroes in the long river of time and space. It was only a matter of time before they completed it. Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord was a Supreme Lord Reserve who didn't care about trifles. He naturally saw this point, and with his personality, he was naturally willing to accept Zhou Fight's challenge. However, Zhou Fight did not do so. The reason was simple. Zhou Fight was too confident. The more confident he was, the calmer he was, and the less anxious he was, the more he was willing to patiently follow the rules. Therefore, he did not rush to challenge the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord. Instead, he was willing to deal with the historical heroes summoned by the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord step by step. He would use this opportunity to walk step by step to the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord and defeat him openly. There are a few willpower experts that Zhou 11 just subdued. Coupled with the augmentation of the king, with my current strength, as long as I use the king, the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord will no longer be my match. Zhou Fight thought calmly. He looked up at the dim yellow sky of the Eternal Continent. This place is really beautiful. He suddenly thought of something, and this beautiful place would soon be mine. He wondered what secrets the Eternal Continent and the river of space-time held that made the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord stay here for so many years. Zhou Fight was deep in thought. The secret of the ultimate void battleground was the ultimate void battleground. It could harvest ownerless treasures from the ultimate void great cosmos, turning it into a paradise comparable to a treasure basin. The secret of the High Continent was that the High Continent was the source of the myriad worlds in the Supreme Universe. It naturally had a special building like the Door to Ascension. It could attract top experts and top geniuses from the myriad worlds to ascend to the Supreme Continent, allowing the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom to use this opportunity to recruit experts and talents from the myriad worlds. What about the Eternal Continent and the River of Space and Time? When I take down the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord, I will know the secret of the Eternal Continent and the River of Time and Space. Zhou Fight didn't think too much about it and continued waiting for his subordinates to conquer the historical heroes in the long river of time and space. After his subordinates completely conquered the river of time and space, it would be his turn to challenge the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord. At the same time, the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord was also staring intently at Zhou Fight. The depths of his eyes were solemn and filled with bewilderment. What just happened? Why did an extremely shocking aura suddenly erupt from the clone of Zhou Zhou's main body for a moment? Even though this aura only appeared for a moment, it already made the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord tremble in fear. He felt completely powerless. Did this fellow's strength increase again? But isn't this too ridiculous? Didn't this guy King advance to the low-level Supreme Will realm yesterday? A peerless genius expert who had long advanced to the mid-level Supreme Will realm and whose true combat strength was actually comparable to the mid-level Supreme Will Transcendence realm, actually felt that I was invincible against the other party? What kind of joke is this? Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord tried his best to persuade himself that he might have sensed wrongly. However, there was a voice in his heart that said loudly, "That's right, you didn't sense it wrongly. In fact, your third brother has already surpassed you." Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord could not help but feel that his mind was in a mess. His heart was also in a mess. This third brother of his could always come up with some new tricks for him. He hurriedly shook his head and temporarily eliminated the chaotic thoughts in his mind. Then, he focused his attention on the fishing business in front of him. No matter how big the world was, it was not as big as fishing. As he focused on fishing, Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord's heart gradually calmed down. He muttered inwardly, "No matter how strong my third brother is, I'll take it. It's not like I can't even withstand a single move from him, right? As long as I can withstand it, I won't be embarrassed. Even if he really surpasses me, at most, I'll give the Eternal Continent, the River of Time and Space, and myself, the second reserve army of the Supreme Lord that I regard as useless, to him. As long as I still have the myriad worlds chaos pool, a supreme treasure born from the Sea of Void, by my side, I will always have hope of catching up." The Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord's heart was calm, but his calmness also contained an unparalleled confidence that was as calm as an abyss. More than an hour later, Zhou Fight opened his eyes and saw that the generals and soldiers under him were already standing in front of him. The leader of the group was a transcendent-level expert, as well as 3 historical heroes with transcendent-level wills. They were looking at him respectfully. "Your Majesty," the transcendent-level expert said respectfully, "the historical heroes in the River of Time and Space have all been cleaned up. Now, the Eternal Continent and the long River of Time and Space have already been taken into our Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom's territory." "Not yet." Zhou Fight slowly stood up and looked at the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord. "We have to wait until this emperor defeats this emperor's second brother. Your Majesty will definitely win," the transcendent expert said with fervent determination. "You sure are confident." Zhou Fight laughed. At the same time, he thought to himself, "Actually, I'm the most confident." Zhou Fight was too confident. He firmly believed that his victory over the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord would definitely become a reality. However, he didn't show it. "Wait here. This emperor will go and meet this emperor's second brother," Zhou Fight said calmly. "Your Majesty, what if the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord leads his subordinates to attack your Majesty?" "Let us go with his Majesty," the transcendent-level subordinate hurriedly said. "Second brother won't do that," Zhou Fight said without turning his head. "And even if he really does that, it doesn't matter. It's okay." These last 4 simple words contained powerful confidence that all the experts present could feel. The generals and soldiers of the Blazing Sun Divine Kingdom were all infected by this confidence. Their faces revealed fanatical reverence. The three superheroes looked at each other. Even though they did not know where Zhou Fight's confidence came from, they inexplicably began to worry for their master. The myriad world's chaos pool. The spring-autumn Dharma Lord sensed something and turned to look in Zhou Fight's direction. He saw Zhou Fight slowly flying towards him and arriving in front of him. He took a deep breath and took the initiative to put away the fishing rod. He subconsciously focused. By the time he reacted, he was shocked. He thought to himself, "Have I unconsciously placed so much importance on my third brother? He is clearly a latecomer." Spring-autumn Dharma Lord wanted to convince himself that he did not need to pay so much attention to his third brother. It was already so difficult for this third brother to defeat a suppressed, low-level, transcendent-level expert yesterday after all. He had already defeated a middle-level powerhouse a long time ago. It was impossible for him to lose. Spring-autumn Dharma Lord cheered himself on. A smile appeared on his face. "Third brother, you're here." Zhou Fight nodded and said, "Second brother, I'm Zhou Zhou now. I'm just using my will to borrow Zhou Fight's body to talk to you. Your main body doesn't show up often." Spring-autumn Dharma Lord said in surprise. "Today, it was actually your will that personally controlled the clone's body to fight me? For such an important matter, I naturally have to do it myself to show my respect for second brother." Zhou Zhou took out a low-level holy artifact and said slowly, "If it's just a clone, it would be too disrespectful to second brother." "That makes sense," Spring-autumn Dharma Lord said as he waved his hand. The sea of chaos that belonged to the myriad world's chaos pool turned into a chaotic stream of light and flew to his palm, emitting the aura of a mid-level holy artifact. "Third brother, have you really decided to challenge your second brother now? You just advanced to the Supreme Will Realm not long ago. You can go back and prepare again. Third brother can wait for you." The sounds made by the Spring-autumn Dharma Lords suddenly overlapped, as if countless Spring-autumn Dharma Lords were saying the same words behind him. Zhou Zhou looked over and countless strange timeline fluctuations appeared behind Spring-autumn Dharma Lord. In the layers of alternate timelines, a large number of different timeline worlds appeared. And in these alternate timeline worlds, a total of 10 Spring-autumn Dharma Lords that were identical to the Spring-autumn Dharma Lord appeared. They were exactly the same in terms of strength, appearance, aura, and even the myriad world's chaos pool, a holy artifact that transcended mid-level. As such, the Spring-autumn Dharma Lord's strength had increased by 10 times from the surface. If there were any joint attacks between them, the Spring-autumn Dharma Lord's strength would increase by more than 10 times. "I've long heard that you've been using the eternal continent and the river of space and time to research a will technique that's different from the timeline. Is this the willpower skill? Extraordinary indeed." Zhou Zhou smiled and did not look flustered at all. "Not bad. This will technique is called the 10-dimensional true self. Every one of them are my clone. At the same time, every one of them can also be my true body. In battle, it can instantly allow me to have 10 helpers whose strength is not inferior to mine. When I'm saving my life, they're also my 10 escape routes. I've been studying this will technique for years. I'm just a little bit away from deriving it to the will transcendence level of the 100 Realms Saint Venerable. When the time comes, I will be able to accumulate my strength and soar into the sky. In a day, I can directly advance from mid-level Supreme Will Realm to the low-level Will Realm." The Spring-autumn Dharma Lord smiled. "Second brother, you're really amazing." Zhou Zhou praised sincerely. He could rely on himself and some related inheritances to deduce a path that was suitable for his will to transcend. Even Zhou Zhou did not dare to say that he could advance from mid-level Supreme Will Realm to low-level Will Realm in an instant. He had only cultivated for a short period of time after all. Even with the special Lord talent derived from the Reincarnation Sacred Palace, he had far less time to cultivate than the two Supreme Lord reserves, Spring-autumn Dharma Lord and God King Heaven Punishment. They could accumulate and develop their own path. Then, they would soar into the sky and advance to the level of willpower. Zhou Zhou couldn't do the same, but he also had his own methods. That was to use a large number of inheritances, treasures, opportunities, and supreme providence to forcefully push themselves to the willpower level in a shorter period of time than them. Similarly, they could not replicate such a path. Zhou Zhou did not feel that there was anything bad about his path since the two paths were equally matched. I won't say anything else since third brother has already made up your mind. The fighting spirit in the spring-autumn Dharma Lord's eyes surged. It had been a long time since he had such a hot-blooded feeling of wanting to fight. Let's begin. Let's decide the winner. Sure, Zhou Zhou nodded. High up in the sky, the main bodies of the Supreme Will, the God King Heaven Punishment, and a group of Supreme Will Realm experts were still in the dusk battlefield, and were therefore currently descending on the Eternal Continent in the form of projections to watch this decisive battle that might affect the future fate of the Supreme Great Cosmos. Teacher, who do you think will prevail? The God King Heaven Punishment asked curiously. The common people's regal. The Supreme Will said with a faint smile. Third brother. The God King Heaven Punishment was shocked. But he has just advanced to the low-level Supreme Will Realm yesterday and advanced to mid-level Supreme Will Realm today. Second brother has been cultivating on the path of the Supreme Will Realm for many years. Third brother's talent is peerless, and he might defeat second brother in the future, but he shouldn't be second brother's match yet. You underestimate your third brother. The Supreme Will said, he is the #1 possessor of potential personally recognized by the will of the ultimate void great cosmos. He also has the status of a top-notch sacred king. The changes in his strength cannot be predicted with conventional knowledge. And is there a possibility? The Supreme Will said without turning his head, not only has he surpassed the spring-autumn Dharma Lord, he might have already surpassed you. The God King Heaven Punishment was stunned. Third brother surpassed me. God King Heaven Punishment stood rooted to the ground. He had this thought before. Everyone knew about third brother's potential after all. Anyone who knew a little about Zhou Zhou's growth speed would think that this person would surpass many experts in the future. Among them was naturally him, a high-level Supreme Will Realm expert. However, he thought that he would surpass him at least 10,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years later. How could he have already surpassed him now? No matter how abnormal third brother's potential was, he couldn't be so abnormal, right? However, the Supreme Will would never lie to him. That left only one possibility. Third brother might have unknowingly surpassed him. He might have only advanced to the low-level Supreme Will Realm yesterday and had only advanced to the mid-level Supreme Will Realm today, but he had indeed surpassed him. Even though the Supreme Will did not look at God King Heaven Punishment's expression, he could sense what he was thinking. He sighed softly in his heart, but he had no intention of persuading him. What was the point of persuading him? The common people's regal strength would not decrease because of his persuasion, allowing God King Heaven Punishment to continue maintaining his strength advantage. Geniuses like God King Heaven Punishment and the Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord needed to recognize reality early on. They could only blame it on themselves for living in the same great cosmos as a pervert like the common people's regal, the God King Heaven Punishment, Spring-Autumn Dharma Lord, or even Lord of 10,000 Evils had a high chance of becoming the top prodigies of a multiverse as long as they did not live in the same multiverse. However, since they had encountered an invincible prodigy in the same universe as the common people's regal, they could only accept their fate. Under the invincible light of the common people's regal, they could only be willing to be the green leaf for him. The Supreme Will sighed in his heart. He did not even expect the common people's regal to rise so quickly. How long has it been? It was simply a perfect replica of his participating in the Lord of All Races tournament. During the Lord of All Races contest back then, he had not even completed the series of Lord's events that he had meticulously prepared. This kid had already surpassed all the other heroes, and no one could catch up to him. As a result, he had no choice but to end the Lord of All Races contest early and let him become the Supreme Lord's Reserve Army in advance. It was the same. This kid clearly had not officially fought with God King Heaven Punishment, but he already had the strength to surpass God King Heaven Punishment. What was the point of fighting? He might as well let God King Heaven Punishment surrender. Otherwise, the gap between the two would only widen in the future. God King Heaven Punishment would also lose more and more face. Should he really let God King Heaven Punishment surrender? Should he let the common people's regal take over the twilight battlefield and become a true Supreme Lord? The Supreme Will began to seriously consider this question. After thinking for a few seconds, he decided to throw this question to God King Heaven Punishment and let him make the decision himself. You know that common people's regal strength has already surpassed yours. So what's your next move? Do you want to continue to increase your strength and wait for the common people's regal to fight you step by step to challenge you? Or should you just fight with the common people's regal later and let him replace your position as the Supreme Lord's first reserve army, and then directly promote to a true Supreme Lord? The Supreme will ask. A bitter smile appeared on the God King Heaven Punishment's face. Teacher actually stopped pretending and gave him such a choice. Moreover, this time, him actually said that he would directly pass the position of Supreme Lord to him. He was even unwilling to let he be the Supreme Lord's first reserve army for a few more years. I've been the Supreme Lord's first reserve army for so long that I've forgotten how many years I've been there. Aren't you being too biased? Of course, while the God King Heaven Punishment felt a little aggrieved, he also felt that the Supreme Will's favoritism was not without reason. Who would not want to take off their bags and let such an outstanding successor inherit their position when they met such an outstanding successor? If he were in his shoes, he would probably make the same choice. However, he was still indignant. The God King Heaven Punishment took a deep breath and said, Teacher, even though third brother has completely surpassed me in terms of strength, I still want to try him out. Let third brother pass the test step by step before challenging me. If he wins, I'm naturally willing to relinquish my position as the first reserve army of the Supreme Lord. I'll be happy to see my third brother promoted to the position of Supreme Lord. But if he fails, we can let third brother settle down for a period of time. I believe that with third brother's potential, it won't be bad for he to settle down for a period of time. And I will advance to the low-level willpower level before that. My strength will increase greatly again. At that time, I can fight with third brother to my heart's content. The Supreme will finally turn to look at God King Heaven Punishment. He could naturally tell that God King Heaven Punishment was indignant and unconvinced. However, he wasn't surprised. This was the personality of the eldest disciple, the God King Heaven Punishment. He would fight once first regardless of whether he could win or not. Everything else could be discussed after losing. He would be very surprised if he directly gave up the position of the Supreme Lord's first reserve army without hesitation. Sure, then let your third brother take his time. You're right. With your third brother's potential, accumulating it for a period of time will indeed make his future better.